Hello, I'm Isaac Heath Martinez, and welcome to Isaac's Haunted Beard. Today we're going to talk about my favorite talking dog, Scooby-Doo. Now, I'm more so going to talk about my relationship and my history with the cartoon Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, more so than the cartoon itself. But hopefully that'll still be kind of fun for you to listen to me talk about it and reminisce and maybe compare it to your feelings about Scooby-Doo or some other cartoon that you love. When I was a kid, I used to watch Scooby-Doo, and for the record, although there are many cartoons that feature the Scooby-Doo character, there's the Scooby-Doo show, there's the all-new Scooby-Doo movies, there's the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, there's a pup named Scooby-Doo, and then there's a whole bunch more that are current right now. I'm mostly referring to the show known as Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, which is the first version of the show. When I was a kid, I remember watching it and being completely in love with it, and years later, as an adult, the first time I rediscovered Scooby-Doo on television was in I'd say the early to mid 90s. TBS was showing it in the middle of the night. Like, when I say the middle of the night, I mean, like, I think it was like 2 in the morning, and it was really exciting to come across again because I had not seen it since I was a kid. So I'm a very nostalgic person, and I love revisiting things from my past. Not so much just to test it to see if it's held up, but just because I really do enjoy revisiting things that have brought me joy in the past. I'm always convinced I'm going to enjoy it again, and most of the time I do. Sometimes I don't, but in the case of Scooby-Doo, I really, really did. In fact, I discovered that the episodes were still very fun for me to watch and funny, and I loved the animation. And the big difference between me seeing it as a kid versus me seeing it as an adult is that the adult me was a horror movie fan, and the kid me had not, at least when I had seen Scooby-Doo at the time, I had not really discovered my love for horror films yet. So not only did I have the Scooby-Doo character to experience all over again, and the rest of them, Shaggy and Daphne and Velma and Fred, but mostly Scooby-Doo. There was also the horror element, which were the supposed ghosts and monsters. When I say supposed, because at least that version of the show, with each episode you discover that it wasn't actually a ghost or a monster, it was actually always a person in a costume, which would always lead to the reveal at the end where they'd say, let's find out who he really is, and they'd pull the mask off and they'd have the catchphrase, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you pesky kids. I don't know if the show would have been as enthralling for me again as an adult if it didn't have that element, being that I already had this attraction for monsters. Like, it didn't matter to me that they weren't real. The imagery was there, so I got to see all these great characters, all these great concepts, these designs for different ghouls and monsters and ghosts, and seeing Scooby-Doo in that kind of, and they were always frightened. They were always convinced that it was real, even though previously every time they've ever tried to solve a mystery, it wasn't real. So, yeah, that really appealed to me. I remember telling my friends how much I was enjoying watching Scooby-Doo again, and even back then I was a collector. I liked collecting anything that reflected my interest. So I was on the lookout for Scooby-Doo collectibles, and it was a very difficult thing to accomplish at the time. There wasn't any that was easily accessible. Like everything about collecting was harder. Like eBay didn't exist yet. It was pretty much if you found something in the wild. That's how you would add something to your collection. And once in a while I did. And not only that, I had friends and family looking out for me, so every once in a while they found stuff too. So I slowly started getting this Scooby-Doo collection. So because they were so rare, every time I found something new, it was really exciting. Now fast forward to a couple years later, the Cartoon Network becomes a thing. And the Cartoon Network had new programming, and they had retro programming. And one of the older shows that not only was on the Cartoon Network, but soon became the most popular retro show on the Cartoon Network was Scooby-Doo. So, Cartoon Network capitalized on that by making a lot of new Scooby-Doo merchandise, which was exciting for me that it was so accessible. And I ended up getting t-shirts and coffee mugs and dolls and action figures and all these great stuff. But I still had the ability to differentiate between stuff that I thought was really cool and stuff that I thought wasn't as cool, and I can just go, I'll pass. However, my friends and family weren't really familiar with that discerning judgment. And they also didn't understand that Scooby-Doo stuff was much more available now because of the Cartoon Network. Every time they saw something, they got excited and went, ooh, this is the cartoon that Isaac likes, so they would just buy it for me. So every Christmas and every birthday I would end up, or even just random days, I would get all these Scooby-Doo gifts. And I ended up getting a lot of Scooby-Doo gifts. So I ended up with so much stuff, which I really appreciated. But years later, when I'm really far removed from getting those gifts, I must admit that some of the lesser Scooby-Doo collectibles I ended up re-giving or selling or, getting rid of in one way or another. So what I chose to hold on to was my favorite pieces. The next step in my relationship with Scooby-Doo, of course, was the DVDs, because eventually they did put out Scooby-Doo, Where Are You on DVD, and that was cool to have, because you definitely want to have the show that you love in your permanent collection. And then the final step, for me at least, between my relationship with the old school Scooby-Doo cartoon and then I guess the next step in Scooby-Doo just kind of being out there in the world of pop culture for everyone else to enjoy, was the movies. The two feature films that came out. When they first came out, I wasn't initially excited about them because I found out, like how are they going to do this? Is it going to be like Roger Rabbit? Which I would have probably been down with, I guess, because I thought Roger Rabbit was really well done. And of course, Roger Rabbit's like the best case scenario, right? Fingers crossed it'll be as good looking as Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But it wasn't. It was like a CGI Scooby-Doo, which turned me off. And then I changed my mind when I saw the trailer, because I felt that Matthew Lillard, in particular, really captured Shaggy's personality, and his chemistry with the CGI dog just seemed real. It just felt like it was like the show. So it won me over, and then I was all for seeing not only Scooby-Doo in the theater, but the sequel, Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, which I also have in my DVD collection. So nowadays, Scooby-Doo is a very challenging thing to keep up with. There's all these direct-to-video movies, there's like new series, there's a lot of stuff, and it's become really popular. And I feel a little guilty that, being such a big fan for so long, that I didn't keep up with it. But, I don't lose sleep over it. I have a lot of things to keep me busy. There's lots of shows that I love, and there's lots of movies that I watch. So I don't feel like I'm betraying Scooby-Doo. And in fact, I'm very happy for Scooby-Doo's success. And I love that people love that brand and those characters. So, Yeah, maybe one day I'll check it out. I heard that in the new shows, the monsters are real. That's a neat concept. That's a good twist on it. So there you go, folks. That's my relationship with the character and the franchise known as Scooby-Doo, also known as Ruby Roo. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. And follow me on Twitter at IsaacsHauntedBee. Until next time, bye.